Hello everyone, and welcome to the Creative Conversation podcast, where we talk about our creative life and everything related to our artistic journey. Also, feel free to comment below and let me know what you would like to hear in the next podcast. If you're listening on YouTube, you're looking at some of my artwork which I created in the last few years. You will see some black and white darkroom prints, alternative processes such as sol printing, color darkroom prints, and even some painted image transfers which I painted using watercolors or pastels. So yeah, let's begin. Today we're going to talk about success in art. What is it exactly, and how can we actually define success? Especially since everyone has a different definition. But I think most people, when they hear about someone successful, especially if we're talking about a successful artist, they immediately imagine someone who sells their art for millions of dollars, someone who shows their art in fancy galleries, maybe someone who gets high-paid commissions. So basically, we all associate success in art in a direct relationship to money, to monetary value. So, of course, from that perspective, Van Gogh was a total failure. Or was he? How come his paintings are so pricey now? So, was he successful or not? I mean, he was successful in creating art, these amazing paintings that are so highly regarded today. I'm pretty sure his art is the most faked art, probably because it's so popular and so valuable. But if you ask Van Gogh himself, my guess is that he would say he was a failure. Not only as an artist, but all around in everything he did and the relationships he had. But if somehow he came back today, would he still feel like a failure? I mean, if the definition of success has a monetary value, the dollar sign on it, then he would have to agree he's a very successful artist. So that's a little confusing. And I don't really want to talk about why some people who are not that great get to be successful in the world of art, and why some really good artists don't ever make it. I think this is a whole interesting topic on its own, so I'm just not going to go into it right now. But just saying, considering the facts, obviously in Van Gogh's case, it was all about marketing. But yeah, it's a topic for another day. So I was wondering, how do most artists define success? Do they feel accomplished when they get their own gallery exhibit, when their art consistently sells, when it is featured in magazines or, I don't know, big art websites, when they get a lot of likes on Facebook, when other people connect with their art? I guess each artist has a different definition based on their goal. However, sometimes it seems to me that many artists measure their success based on sales. And yes, I'm sure it feels great when you're able to sell your artistic creations, no doubt about that. But if you define your success based on that, it can be quite an unstable, shaky place to be. Mainly because sales and popularity can change. And it does change all the time. And it's hard, not to say impossible, to keep up with that. I think there are very few artists who consistently sell their art to the point that they don't need to worry about it anymore. I read an article based on a study done in 2017 that claims that 75% of artists in the US make less than $10,000 a year, which means they make less than 1/6 of the average income, and the numbers are even lower for women. And I think here we're only talking about artists who do sell something. What about all the ones who never sell anything? I'm not sure they are even included in this research. Okay, so I'm not here in order to discourage anybody from trying to sell their art. All I'm saying is that if you define your success by how many sales you make, it can be a very insecure place. And if you look at the other areas in life, you will see that success does not have to be measured by the dollar sign. For example, how would we rate our success as parents? Are we successful parents based on how much money we are able to bestow on our kids? Or are we successful when our kids feel loved and supported? Okay, so maybe some parents will define success based on their ability to buy their kids anything they want. But I think most parents do understand what's really important in life. So what I'm trying to say is that it's really not a good idea to define your success based on sales. Okay, so I believe that if you try but can't sell your art, then you're maybe not so good at the business of selling and marketing, or it could be a lot of other reasons. But that should not at all reflect on the quality of your art and your success as an artist. To me, a successful artist is one who makes art that they love and enjoy, regardless of any external influences. And I know nowadays a lot of people are posting their artwork online and as a consequence define their success in terms of the number of likes they receive. Though I have no idea how that works, since as you know, you can get a huge number of likes and praise for one artwork and then it's crickets for another one of your amazing creations. So what is really going on? So when this happens, are you on a roller coaster of emotions, feeling really high when you receive all these likes, and then hating your art when you don't? See, it doesn't really make sense. But yet artists and everyone else get so discouraged when nobody pays attention to them, whatever they do. But really, you have to understand that there's so much going on online, so many people, so much noise, and it's just practically impossible to stand out. And I feel that anything you post, it's just being scrolled over to the next page so fast, and people don't really read anymore. You have basically a couple of seconds to make a great impression. So how can that be a measure of your greatness? Which means you rely on acceptance, approval, recognition by others to feel successful. You're setting yourself up for a disappointment, a big disappointment. And yes, I know it always seems like everybody else is succeeding and they got it together. But you have to remember that's just how it is online. Everyone else looks so happy and successful, which is totally a distorted picture, so don't let it fool you. And if you're comparing yourself or your success to someone else, you're never going to feel good about yourself and your art and your life in general. So it's something that should be avoided. You are not them, so why should you compare yourself to someone else? You should only compare yourself to yourself. See how much you have grown, how better your art is. It will help you decide where to take it, and you will go far. But if you compare yourself to someone else, it will slow you down and disappoint you, and you'll never get anywhere. And of course, I'm not talking about getting inspiration from someone who you like and you think is successful, but just don't judge yourself against them. And also, I would like to make it clear, I'm not saying don't sell your art or don't work as an artist. On the contrary, I think you should follow your desires and wishes and dreams, but I'm saying it is not a good idea to define yourself by how much money or attention you get through your art. There are so many inconsistent circumstances to why someone makes a lot of sales or gets much attention versus someone who is totally overlooked. And I think seldom it has anything to do with the true quality and value of the artwork. And this is why I think that so often we see someone who we consider successful, but we find out they are very unhappy. And I'm not a psychologist, but I'm pretty sure our creative expression, the thing we are really good at and is a big part of us, is also something that is expected to make us happy, something we will not feel fulfilled without it. And I think the conclusion here is that financial success is not necessarily a happy place to be, and therefore is not what we will define as true success as an artist or a person. So I set out and asked my fellow artists on my Facebook group to give me their definition of success. I was somewhat surprised when all of them gave me the same answer. Success is when I'm being creative. I'm enjoying the process of creating and feeling happy when I make a fantastic artwork. So I was somewhat surprised, but then when I thought about it, I really wasn't. I think most artists begin creating because they have to. They have this drive to create and to try new things. So I think this creative drive, which is personal for each creative person and also unique, this creative force is what pushes someone to go on and define what is success and what makes them feel content with the process and with their creation. So having these creative drives, why do we let external voices influence how happy we are when we create something? I especially don't like to see when someone who is brave enough to put their creative creation out there, which to me means they are at least somewhat content with their artwork, but then they let an unsuccessful attempt to sell their creation or get attention on social media, they allow it to make them feel defeated. And I've seen it happening to people after their very first attempt. And I think this happens because they believe their artwork is not good enough and therefore they are not successful. But in reality, there are so many other reasons that play part in every journey. There are so many stories out there of people who didn't make it for a long time. Most overnight successes are long time in the making. So bottom line, if you're happy creating, you enjoy the process, the outcome, but mainly the journey, you are successful. That's all it takes. Thank you for listening. If you're interested in my books and online classes, make sure to check out the links below. And as always, don't forget to subscribe.